Hello, Parkview Band parents. Here we are at the end of the 6th week of the school year, and we've had some parents who graciously asked some frequently asked questions, and we'd like to take care of those so that when we have conferences in a couple of weeks, we can focus more on individual student achievement questions and not so much about how band is going. So we're going to divide this video up into sections, starting with the topics that are of concern to the most number of students. And finally, at the end of the video, will be more specific individual kind of questions for a smaller number of students. So thanks for tuning in, and feel free to skip ahead to the places where your question might be answered. So the first and maybe most obvious question that comes up about band is, will there be concerts this year? And the answer right now is that there will be no on-site outside of the school day performances for the first semester. So up until the winter break, we know there won't be an in-person performance. Now, in the spring semester, things may change. We haven't really known enough about it to know if that could change. Also, there may be an opportunity for kids to present some sort of a virtual or combined concert experience that's more like a recording session. And we're going to work on that with our colleagues in this building and the other buildings to kind of get some opportunities for kids to perform. But as of now, until winter break, there will be no concerts. Smart music is something that does take a little bit of a learning curve. And a lot of our students are finding that they just can't score 100% by the smart music robot. And I want to let all the parents and all the students know that we don't take the smart music robot's score. We listen to all those submissions. We use our own standard benchmarks to evaluate those performances, and then we manually score those performances before we enter those into the gradebook, into Infinite Campus. So a lot of times students will not submit these until they're perfect, and we are really encouraging students to use the listen function, listen back and do some self-evaluation. And if they feel like that's their best effort, they should send it in. And of course, with all submissions, we always have the opportunity to retake them. And that's really the key part of the learning. If they do submit something and it comes back that they still have some growth to do, that's where practice and reevaluation comes in. And they always have an opportunity to resubmit smart music assignments. Okay, the next question right now, as we're getting into the 6-week grading mark, is about grades. And typically at this point, we only have 3 grades in the grade book. And if the student has something that's missing, unfortunately, when I flag something or Mrs. Hayden flags something as missing in the grade book, it does notify you as a parent on your app, but it also counts that score as a 0. Now, we don't believe in zeros in Ankeny. We don't give any zeros as final grades, but it is an effective tool for us to flag that missing because you get the notification either through your email inbox or through your Infinite Campus app, so you can help your student stay on track with the assignments so they don't pile up. Now, there's only 3 assignments, and each one of the 3 assignments shouldn't really take longer than 10 to 15 minutes max to achieve. So I think even if a student is missing all 3 of the assignments, they should be able to knock it out in 1 to 2 practice sessions at home over the next couple of days. So don't worry about the actual score. What we're really looking for is just that they're getting in the habit of turning in something every week. Every week there will be an asynchronous assignment for every band student, and every week that asynchronous assignment will be entered into Infinite Campus. If we don't have it by noon on Saturday, we flag it as missing. And then as the students turn them in, we will be listening to them. Sometimes we can't get to them right away, but every week we're going to turn those over and get the resubmissions in there. So don't think that that's a final grade by any point. In fact, all assignments can be retaken. So this time of year, in any year, we get a lot of questions about practice time and how much practice time is expected and how should practice time be structured at home. And of course, this year, with students having a lot of unstructured time on their off days, if they're hybrid students, or if they're alone during the day, if they're remote students, the practice question is a little bit more, I think, imperative. So first of all, because we don't have our typical lesson and band class delivery, we're thinking that students are playing probably 75% of their time in a week at home. Okay, so if we look at a typical week, we'd like the students to have their instrument out and be playing it for at least 120 minutes total during a week. So during a hybrid on-site lesson at school or during a remote band lesson online, that's a max of about 30 minutes of playing. So if you take that out and kind of spread that out over the rest of your week, we're looking at another at least 90 minutes that the student should be putting in on their own at home. Of course, more is always better, but a lot of times it's the daily practice. If we can just focus on getting a daily routine going on, and we really recommend a mix of long tone and basic fundamentals, some scales, and our lesson materials out of the lesson book, and then finally something fun to play. So we're looking at about 90 minutes total during the week. It's about lessons and will there be individual or group lessons that are delivered. And this has probably been the biggest thing that we've had to reinvent in the band area this fall, is that we just cannot reach the kids in a synchronous, all of us together way in a space that's safe during the pandemic. So what we are rolling out in October and hope to be continuing to make more and more use of is the Flipgrid. Flipgrid's a great app. You've probably seen your kids already do some of these short videos on it. And we've had our band staff from grades 6 through 12 actually record the lesson materials from our band lesson books. And the kids will be able to access these videos from a Flipgrid group that will be posted in Google Classroom. And then they can work through those materials at their own pace. So say they're ready to go from lesson 5 to lesson 6. They don't have to wait till the next week to do that. They can just go ahead and open up the Flipgrid video for the next lesson and play right along with that instructor on their own practice session at home. There will be one short little example from every lesson for them to submit, and then Mrs. Hayden and I will listen to those and give them some feedback. So the lesson delivery is going to be what we now call asynchronous. So it's not happening at the same time. You shouldn't expect the feedback to be immediate, but it should be within probably the week that they've submitted it, and we'll give them some things to work on, or maybe say it sounds great and we're working on. So lessons become asynchronous in order to make sure that everybody remains safe. Along with these lessons on Flipgrid, we will be again doing a Parkview version of band karate. So we'll go through the white belt all the way up through the black belt, and they progress as they go through the new lesson books. And again, those lesson books are new at Parkview. If you were coming from 5th grade, we're now using Student Instrumental Course Level 1 for all the wind players. The percussionists will be playing the toolbox books. They are the snare drummer's toolbox or the mallet player's toolbox. And all of those videos, again, are going to be recorded by your band staff. And any of those materials that you may have questions about are listed in our materials section on Google Classroom. Another question is about where are assignments posted each week. And that can be confusing with a lot of things in middle school because we use different apps to share these assignments. So right now at Parkview in the band area, we always put the assignment in Google Classroom and we put the assignment on the student agenda. Those student agendas are linked through your student's team page and team agendas, and those are updated on Friday of every week for the next week. The Google Classroom assignments go live at 8 a.m. on Monday, and that's when either Smart Music is turned on or the Flipgrid assignment is turned on. And so the students can always access their list of assignments and their to-dos in Google Classroom. So there are some questions some of our hybrid families have about hybrid band on site. And one of the things that we've tried to do this year to mitigate the spread of any viruses is to spread out the bands and also to use outside rehearsal as much as we can. I can tell you that our goal for going outside is we want to go whenever we can, because when we go outside, we can have the whole band and of course being outside, all of the aerosols that are produced by playing a wind instrument all get spread out to the great outdoors. If the temperature is a feels like temperature, wind chill, feels like temperature of 50 or less, or if it's raining or snowing, of course we're going to be inside. And when we're inside, I'll just show you what our band room looks like in here. When we're inside, we have all of the students separated by 6 feet side to side, and if they're trombone players, they're 9 feet front to back. And this room holds about 25 students in person in that physically distanced manner. The choir room across the hall does the same thing, and we actually split the kids up so the whole band is not in this room at the same time. They're actually split. Woodwinds and brass in this room, or woodwinds will be across the hall. Brass and percussion are in this room. And so that way we can maintain that physical distancing that's so important, but also keep them out of the elements. So along with that on-site question is just the materials that are needed. And we want to make sure that all the kids are not breaking their back, bringing their instrument and all their materials with them all the time. But the fact remains is that we don't have lockers for their hallway materials, so they have to bring their backpacks with them. And really the mitigation strategy that we're employing in Ankeny from grades 6 through 12 is that all those materials stay with the student in their own box. So we really don't have a place for the students to store their backpacks and maintain that physical distancing. And that's why we're asking the students to always have their backpack with them, along with their band instrument and their band binder. Now, that stuff only needs to travel to school on band days. And so if there's a Wednesday, we don't play our instruments, and they don't need to bring any of those band materials on Wednesdays. They only need to bring their instrument on their band day, which, depending on their grade and their group, is either a Monday, Tuesday, a Thursday, or a Friday. So the following questions really concern the students who are 100% online, or what we call the remote students, and their interaction with the band. First of all, I would say that of all these things that we've had to relearn and transition into, for myself personally, teaching remote band has been the biggest challenge. Because of the nature of just internet connectivity and different devices, different bandwidths at our own individual houses, and frankly, the things that happen here during the school day, like we had a fire alarm during a remote session today. It just has become a really unpredictable thing to do, and I always feel like I'm trying to live up to an in-person band experience, and it's just really not possible. For one, we can't all turn our microphones on and hear each other because everything comes through at a different speed. So we literally can't play together. I'm learning different ways to hear the kids play a little bit during their remote sessions, but really that remote session is less of a band rehearsal and more of a check-in and look ahead and an answer questions and an idea for the next week's asynchronous assignments. And we're also trying to cover at least what we're doing in the on-site bands as far as the band music. So if there comes a day that we can all do a concert together, we're all prepared to do that. But the remote lessons or the remote band classes, it's hard to call that a rehearsal just because we're not able to react in the moment to each other. We're not able to hear what we're all doing at the same time. And because of that, I would say if you're considering moving to 100% remote, I want to be honest and not oversell what it is. It's a good time for me to learn the kids' names. It's a good time for me to check in with them and answer their questions. It's a great time for me to just see their faces and see their positions with the instrument and just give them some quick pointers. But it's not a band rehearsal like you would do live and in person.